Welcome to another explainer. Today, we're going in depth to look at what really sits on the shelves and servers of Rashtriya Raksha University's library. If you've ever heard the rumors about this national security university, you might have some pretty wild ideas about what goes on inside its walls. Well, today, we're sticking strictly to the facts. We are going to look at the evidence and unpack the genuinely fascinating reality of the resources actually available to students and faculty there. Right off the bat, the title of this topic implies a thrilling spy movie fantasy, right? We hear the term restricted strategic defense research, and our minds instantly jump to students sitting in dimly lit rooms flipping through top-secret classified government files. But we need to correct this premise right away before we jump to any wild conclusions. Overclaiming what this university grants access to could genuinely mislead you about how national security education actually works. So let's kick things off with Section 1. The classified secrets myth. We really need to separate the Hollywood fiction from the academic reality here. The crucial point to understand is that restricted access absolutely does not mean top-secret government clearances or armed guards standing at the library door. What it actually means in this specific context is highly exclusive academic platforms. We're talking about premium research databases guarded by incredibly expensive institutional logins. These are resources that are basically inaccessible to the general public, simply because the paywalls are so high. Which brings us right into Section 2, Reality, Premium Research Databases. An ordinary public library card is just not going to get you into these resources, and that makes RRU's digital arsenal incredibly impressive. To really grasp the firepower of this library, we have to look at their electronic holdings. Let's break these down. First, you've got the JSTO Security Studies Collection. This isn't just your standard JSTO login, it is hyper-focused on global security e-journals and reports. Then there's Kluwer Arbitration. This is a genuinely premium resource that most general university libraries literally cannot afford. It is an absolute goldmine for anyone researching high-stakes international dispute resolution. And finally, LexisNexis. Widely recognized as the largest electronic database for legal and public records research, it covers everything from case law to deep newspaper archives. And beyond that specialized security collection, their general JSTOR access translates to a massive global academic footprint right at their fingertips. To put that into perspective, we are talking about access to more than 2,600 scholarly journals spanning publishers in over 57 countries. This is the honest version of the restricted access hook. It's not secret government intel. It is world-class, heavily paywalled academic research that most universities in the country simply cannot afford to give their students. Moving right along to Section 3, Inside the Physical Library. So how does all this digital firepower translate to the physical building? Well, once you step away from the digital servers and walk inside, the whole idea of a lockdown, secretive vault falls apart completely. The RRU Physical Library actually operates on an open access system. This means students are completely free to walk the aisles, browse the shelves, and pull the books themselves. There are zero closed-off stacks requiring special permission slips just to view a textbook. Membership is totally general. It's available to all students, faculty, and admin staff simply by filling out a form at the circulation counter. Now, this collection is overseen by a library committee that manages development, and they built a genuinely coherent, laser-focused catalog. Just look at these subject strengths: internal security and policing, national security, criminology and criminal law, cybersecurity, forensic science, and coastal security. Instead of being a generic university library with a little bit of everything scattered around, RRU's physical holdings are tightly aligned with its specific mandate. The physical books perfectly mirror those specialized digital databases we just talked about, creating a truly tailor-made environment for the next generation of security professionals. Let's transition over to Section 4, Unpacking the DRDO Partnership. Now, there is a very real defense connection here that we need to explain in depth because, honestly, this is where a lot of the internet confusion stems from. On December 22, 2025, the Defense Research and Development Organization, or DRDO, and RRU signed a Memorandum of Understanding. This recent agreement aims to collaborate on research, education, and technology support to strengthen self-reliance under the Atmanirbhar Bharat vision. It's a huge deal for sure, but we must be incredibly precise about what this MOU actually entails for the university and its library. The parameters of this agreement are focused heavily on structural collaboration. We're talking about planned joint research projects, new PhD and fellowship programs, and targeted studies on technology gaps and operational challenges specifically for the Central Armed Police Forces. So the takeaway here is that this is strictly an institutional research and training partnership. It is absolutely not a free pass for RRU students to go digging through DRDO's classified technical archives. Which makes this a perfect time for Section 5, DZDoc versus RRU. To truly understand strategic defense research in India, we must draw a precise line between a university and actual government archives. If we're going to talk about restricted defense material, we need to know exactly where that material actually lives. And that brings us to DZDoc, which stands for the Defense Scientific Information and Documentation Center. This is entirely separate from RRU. Established way back in 1970 and based at Metcalf House in Delhi, DZDoc is DRDO's own dedicated internal library. It is built specifically and exclusively for DRDO's own scientists. It is not open to RRU students, and it isn't connected to the December 2025 MOU beyond just general high-level institutional collaboration. And this number brilliantly illustrates the difference. DZDoc houses roughly 262,000 classified documents. Let that sink in. That is the institution that actually holds the sensitive, restricted defense science material. RRU students cannot access this. Naming this distinction directly is absolutely vital. It's the difference between understanding how academic research actually works versus buying into an internet myth. Celebrating a specialized, subscription-rich security library is incredibly impressive on its own, without needing to blur the lines with DZDoc. When we talk about hard-to-access premium research databases, we're making a real, verifiable claim. But claiming students have access to restricted, classified defense research just invites skepticism. And the moment someone points out that DZDoc is not RRU, the whole story falls apart. The truth here is plenty fascinating on its own. Finally, let's wrap up with Section 6, the Rare Archives Mystery. There is one final piece of the original premise we need to investigate, the claim of rare legal archives. Aside from the digital databases and the modern security textbooks, is there hidden history in the RRU library? Well, currently, there is zero reliable public information confirming that these physical artifacts exist at RRU. We're talking about historical manuscripts, colonial-era legal documents, or genuinely rare physical antiquities. Now, while it's a super romantic idea for a legal and security library to have a secret historical vault, the evidence just isn't publicly available to verify this claim right now. So what does this all mean? It means the only way to find out is to take this challenge on the ground. You would have to literally walk those open access shelves yourself, look past the premium databases, and ask the library staff directly. Is there a hidden colonial-era archive waiting to be discovered, or is it just another academic myth? What will you discover when you get there? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning what you read.